What is up, everyone? Sean here, and welcome to 2018. And hopefully, everyone has had a pretty good start for that year. Today, I just thought I sit down and actually talk about the best games that I've played during 2017. So obviously, I haven't played all of them, so I can't. Not all of the games are going to be on this list, of course, but I think for the most part, this list is set. There's not going to be any switcheroos or anything like that. I promise. So let's just get into it. And of course, this is based off my own opinion and experience. So it's not like I'm saying, oh, this game is best for everyone or blah, 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 or anything like that. It's just a game that I like the most. So that's what this top 10 list is all about. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. So number 10 on this list to start off here is Call of Duty World War II. Now, Call of Duty, for over the years, a lot of the modern ones anyway, have gone a little stale for me. Ever since after, I believe, Black Ops 2, that was like the start of Call of Duty going stale for me. Especially with Ghost, Advanced Warfare, and I didn't even bother with Infinite Warfare. And I played a little tiny bit of the Modern Warfare remastered multiplayer, and that didn't feel right either. So, obviously, all the recent Call of Duties have come out not too long ago, haven't been really, have gotten me like pumped like the way they used to back in the day when I was younger. But I think World War II was that Call of Duty that I kind of had fun for a pretty good amount of time, a lot longer than the previous Call of Duties. But right now it's at a standstill, which is why it is at number 10. But it did manage to have some other fun modes. I believe the campaign mode, in my opinion, was absolutely interesting. A lot more interesting than I thought it would be, and it kind of looks to me it felt like a World War II movie with with that crazy action that's thrown in there. There's a lot of set pieces just like all the other Call of Duty games, but I don't know, something about this was just way more interesting than I thought it would be. I kind of just went in there with no expectations at all, because I tend to play campaigns just because, well, might as well make my money's worth, and that's how I play my games. I play the campaign mode and I go into the multiplayer. But this time around, it was just kind of like the other way around, because of the previous Call of Duties. But not only the multiplayer was pretty decent, especially playing with friends, but the campaign mode, again, it definitely. It blew away my expectations in a way, because I didn't have any expectations, and again, it was just a lot more interesting than I thought it'd be, and it reached to a pretty standard conclusion. You'll probably feel satisfied. Probably not for everyone, of course, but if you're interested in playing a World War II campaign, especially it's been a long time since we've had a pretty solid World War II shooter on the PS4, and obviously World War II was kind of like the answer to Battlefield 1, because Battlefield 1 made that very gutsy decision of going back to World War 1 for a very, very first time for Battlefield, and I think that paid off, and that's why probably Call of Duty kind of looked at it as an opportunity for them to kind of go back to World War II. The only disappointing thing about World War II really is that it doesn't really cover the Pacific theater, the Pacific warfare, mind you, or basically the Japanese, right? Not even like the Russians either. There's no Russians, there's no Japanese, only literally just Americans and of course the Germans. We don't even see the Italians either, so. That's a kind of a letdown. So it's very limited on the faction side. But as for the gameplay, it's pretty solid. For the most part, the guns were pretty fun at the time. I did like the shotguns, especially during the beta. They were pretty crazy. But yeah, I think for the most part, it was kind of refreshing in a way. They kind of threw away the customizable perks in favor of a class system now. Like it actually feels like there's classes, and you're pretty much stuck with these perks per class, and kind of feels a little more refreshing in that sense. Even though yes, it's been done for other games, but for Call of Duty, with that Call of Duty style thrown in there. I think it worked, and I think hopefully we see more from it. Maybe once the Japanese and Russians and all the other countries like kind of make it in there, maybe that's like the opportunity for me to get back in. But otherwise, it's at a standstill right now. But it's always a shooter I would probably go back to on the PS4 anyway. And we'll see about how the DLC goes, and hopefully there's more to it. Next up, number 9 on this list is VOEZ. VOEZ is one of those surprises that I didn't really expect myself to really get into, but I kind of wanted a rhythm game for me to get into, and VOEZ was just one of them. I'm waiting on the Persona dancing game that's coming out hopefully soon, for the PS4. Especially with P5, and I'm actually even considering P6. No, not P6. Whoa there. P3 for the dancing game, but let's not get into too much on that. VOEZ is what we're talking about here. VOEZ, again, it was a surprise for me. I didn't really expect myself to play that much of it. It's really fun for what it is. It's just a really good rhythm game to really help pass the time. Especially because there's no really way to fail it in a way. You just it's kind of like just a matter of getting a high score to to your satisfaction. This is no Project Diva or Hatsune Miku rhythm game that you guys are used to playing, or just any other rhythm game you guys are used to playing. This is pretty unique for what it is, and I do really like it for what it is. As a rhythm game, especially on the Switch, you can take it on the go in handheld mode. But unfortunately, this is where my disappointment comes in. You can only play it in handheld mode. You can't put it on your TV and play it with a controller. However, there is a TV mode edition, if that makes sense, coming for VOEZ sometime down the road for the Switch. There has been some articles about it explaining how it's going to work a little bit. But I would love to see VOEZ coming out as a with that TV mode edition or whatever, and I would love to play it on my big screen, and and of course stream it for you guys for you to see. Just hopefully the controls are pretty solid for the most part on the Pro controller or whatever. But it is neat to have control on a touchscreen, the way you can like move your fingers around and stuff like that. You can't play with one hand if you're crazy enough, but you can play like a piano or whatever, however you want to do it. But the way the game works is just really fun. I do like the selection of the songs. There were some really good ones that I do like, and overall, it's a pretty solid rhythm game for the Switch. And if you guys like rhythm games, I highly recommend it. It is only like $25, and they're coming out with new packs of songs for free. So that's more bang for your buck. If you guys want some like a cheaper game, but pretty fun on the go and stuff like that, this is definitely the perfect game for you. Now for number 8, we have Fire Emblem Warriors. This is the Fire Emblem game that's on the Switch as of current. Obviously, going with the Warriors formula, thanks to Koei Tecmo, and I think for the most part, this is a pretty good spin-off as a Warriors game. There are other kind of like other franchises that been that gotten the Warriors or Musou treatment from that same developer. And especially for Nintendo, previously we had Hyrule Warriors, which was alright at the time on the Wii U, but this time on the Switch we have Fire Emblem Warriors, and I think for the most part it makes more sense, and I have a lot more fun with it, and I think it's a much more fleshed out Warriors game in that sense, because it does bring in the strategy aspect of Fire Emblem into this game, and you can command units to go this way and that way, and it makes more sense. Everything just lines up a lot better than Hyrule Warriors. I do like kind of like these outrageous kind of concepts. Who would have thought that Zelda would become a Warriors game? But the execution could have been a little better, and I think that execution was done a lot better here with Fire Emblem this time. The graphics and the art style could have been a little better, but it is presentable. And I do like the animations for the movement, the attacks for the most part. And I love using Lyn. Lyn is probably the coolest character in that game. Funny enough, I mean, we did find out the hard way, myself and Enter Gamma, as we were doing the Let's Play for this game, that you can't really unlock Lyn in the story mode, which was kind of disappointing. I wanted to see her being involved with that story, but yeah, I don't know. It would have been kind of entertaining to watch, but can't complain too much past that, because she is in the history mode, and that's where you unlock her, and she's in the game, period. So it's really good to see her. I think she deserves more attention. Hopefully we see her in Super Smash Bros. As an actual playable character, but we'll have to see about that. I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. But talking about Fire Emblem Warriors here, it just it just felt, like I said, it just made more sense. The attacks, the leveling up aspect and stuff like that. The menu could have been a little better. I feel like managing the weapons and stuff like that is a little clustered, but you can get by it. You can, for the most part, go on with your, selling and powering up your weapons and so on. But it could have been a little better. It does still feel clustered and cluttered and stuff like that, especially when you have a lot of these same swords of the same class or rank or whatever. I don't know. It felt like it could have been done a little better. And of course, it needs more room. Like, you can only hold 100 weapons per class or type of some kind, and it fills up really fast once you start really grinding after you're done with story mode. So they are fixing some stuff from for the game. There are continuous updates, which is pretty cool. I just feel like they really need to up the capacity for the weapons, so they might as well change turn it up to like 999 or something, because I don't know how that's gonna hurt the game really. It'll only be more convenient for me anyway. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have the same feelings about the weapons management in the game. So the story itself is very basic, of course. I mean, there's not really much to it. It's very straightforward, but it was entertaining. There were some entertaining moments, like especially with Owain, meeting with Lisa and stuff like that. And there's some charm that you can see between some of the characters, and it was just neat to see all these Fire Emblem characters interacting with each other. And the story mode could, it did its job. It entertained me anyway, and I thought it was overall is a pretty solid, I guess, campaign mode for what it is. But otherwise, as a game overall, it is, something you should pick up on the Switch. It's just fun to have a handheld game where you can just slash up people, grind, and just level up. That get that feeling on the go. For those who love warrior games, and of course you who want to take it on the go, the Switch is there to do it. And Fire Emblem Warriors is something I would highly recommend. The disappointments I can say about this game is that there's a lack of Roy and Ike. Those are just two characters that I just really want to see in this game, but unfortunately for some reason they're not in this game. They're not even in the DLC packs for whatever reason. Maybe hopefully they'll come out as individual DLC, but right now things aren't really looking for good for the two. It's really weird. Sure, there's a number of characters for the DLC aside, but no Roy, no Ike, which pretty much are the two other iconic characters that haven't made into the game here. But otherwise, overall, it's still fun for what it is. If you guys like warrior games, if you like Fire Emblem, and if you love the two coming together, I think it paid off pretty well, and you have fun with it once you guys pick it up on the Switch. Now with number 7, and that is Nier Automata. Nier Automata was definitely one of the more unique games that came out for 2017. This is an action-adventure game from yours truly, Platinum. And I think this is a solid game from Platinum, yours truly. And the atmosphere, the character designs, just the overall direction was really unique in comparison to the other Platinum action games and just action games in general, I think. And the action portion was really solid. I love the gameplay, the feel, the movement, and all that stuff, dodging and everything else. It felt really solid. So that definitely kept me going. I love those aspects of the game already. And the story was fascinating enough for me to, absolutely keep going as well. There's a lot to it. It's pretty deep. There's a lot of meaning behind, the things you see and the things you experience. So obviously the lore is there. It's definitely deep, and there are some, things about robots and just humans, or just life. What's alive really, or those kind of boundaries are stepped over and all that stuff. And there are crazy moments that that will shock you. And it's like a really fun roller coaster ride. There are some sections where the game might slow down for you, but I think for the most part, you'll have a lot of fun with this game. The action is great. The story is solid for the most part, and the soundtrack is really solid as well, which is why I think it deserved the Game Award for Best Soundtrack of 2017. So I think it was well deserved, in my opinion. It is still niche in comparison to its, I guess sister games, you can call them, especially with Bayonetta. Bayonetta is like the biggest, I think the biggest Platinum game that's around right now, especially with Bayonetta 1 and 2, and of course 3 coming out for the Switch. That's definitely gonna really revive Bayonetta's hype and all that stuff. But I think Nier Automata, it deserves to be up there as well, just because of what it did and what I experienced from that game. However, I will say that I wasn't as blown away as people within my circle that played Nier Automata, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I still really liked it for what it was. You guys should give it a shot if you guys like that kind of story, like that's really different. Very Japanese, of course, from Yoko Taro, of course. He was a big part of that. And I think for the most part, this is a very solid game, and it's, definitely within my top 10 for that reason. You'll love the characters that you'll meet, you'll play, you get to see, get to kind of interact with. It still has a very interesting atmosphere, but at the same time, there are parts where you feel kind of familiar with. It does have this charm where it will keep you kind of hooked on to the game. And overall, it's just a very alluring game. It's very pretty. It's very, it's just different. It just sticks out in a good way. And of course, the soundtrack, everything else, the voice acting and all that stuff, the sounds and everything really mesh together to help you, keep going with the game. It is longer than you would think. There are, multiple endings that you gotta work on, but I think it's worth going through just for the experience of Nier Automata. Hopefully, we see something more from it. Maybe some sort of spin-off or sequel, or something with the Nier name. I don't know. I would love to see something like that for some time down the road. Number 6, we have Yakuza Kiwami. Now, I absolutely love this game. This game is something I wanted to play for a pretty long time, but never really found a good opportunity to do so. Now, there was Yakuza 0, of course, but I've kind of already watched other people play it, so I kind of already knew the story and all that stuff, and I kind of just decided to wait. Then the perfect opportunity came in the form of Yakuza Kiwami. Yakuza Kiwami is basically a remastered version of the first Yakuza game that first came out on the PS2. And I think this was a very good opportunity for me and a lot of people to get into the Yakuza series. And I think overall it paid off very well. I love the story. It felt like a solid Japanese crime drama, of course, with Yakuza. And it's got that nice serious tone, but it's very, very goofy at the same time, which is a good thing for me. I love the hokiness that comes from it, and you'll grow to love Kiryu and Majima. Of course, you'll love it even more once you played Zero. So I recommend playing that first before you play the first Yakuza game. But I think for the most part, it's just the gameplay was really fun. I do love the moves, especially once you really power up Dragon mode or the Dragon style, which it can be difficult to do on your first run, but once you figure out what you're really supposed to do, and if you really love the game, you can go back and try to level up all the way, and I think the payoff will be, it'll definitely be satisfactory, of course. It like the moves and everything, the way you hit people, and just the weight behind it, it's just so satisfying. Something about fighting goons is just really fun to do in this game. And of course, there's the karaoke parts, and there are other mini games that seem really off, but they're still pretty fun for what they are. And you just love all the goofiness and quirkiness you'll see from the side quests. So I can recommend doing those whenever you can. And of course, there's the whole Majima Everywhere system, which is a nice way to kind of power up your character and also see the quirkiness from Majima himself. I think there's a reason why a lot of people love Majima, and you'll definitely see that with the Majima Everywhere system. And of course, like I said, the story is really entertaining. It's very solid, very serious in tone. But yeah, at the same time, it does lighten you up with all these goofy parts that you'll see in this game. Really can't wait to play Yakuza 6, despite not having to play all the ones. I did play Yakuza 6 at PSX 2017. And I had a lot of fun with that one because of the gameplay is still solid, and in fact, I think it's even improved upon already. Especially with when you actually hit the enemy, you just feel it, you just feel more from that. So even with that, I would love to pick it up. I want to pick it up and stream it for you guys, and hopefully see all the other Kiwami editions of all the other Yakuza games, including Yakuza Kiwami 2. Or Yakuza 2 Kiwami. I don't know how the naming would work. I think it's Kiwami 2. But anyways, hopefully we'll see that soon in the States. And I just want to see more from Yakuza. I'm really glad that I was able to get into the series. I think this is a series perfect for me. And that's why it's halfway on the list here. Number 5, we have Tekken 7. Tekken 7 was something I really wanted to play for a long time after playing all the E3 demos and even playing it in Japan during one of my previous trips. I really wanted to land on the consoles, and it finally did eventually, and I just loved every minute of it whenever I played it with friends or played online. And of course, all the stuff that they've added to it so far, and hopefully we see more from it if enough people buy the season pass or whatever. And I just love the choices that they made with the guest characters so far. Hopefully they'll do more, especially if they put Kiryu in this game. He's so perfect for the game, I think. Or Majima would be great for this game as well as a guest character. Either one would be fine. I would just want to see these two, or either the two, in Tekken 7, but unfortunately that's not happening right now. We always see Geese and Noctis, which is already crazy enough. Noctis in Tekken 7 is absolutely goofy. It's still Tekken for what it is. It's it's got that hokiness to it, but at the same time got that serious tone. The gameplay, of course, is pretty solid. I feel like all the characters this time around are a lot more balanced, if that makes sense. I feel like each character has potential to win tournaments and stuff like that. I think even there are some people who have gone top with Heihachi and Kazuya, and even Jin. People who put time into these more technical characters. They really show that these characters have a chance here. Now, of course, there's a lot of Jacks and a good number of Steve Foxes. There's a lot of Xiao Yu. But otherwise, I love the characters, how they turned out, and personally, I main Jack. And also I have a Dragunov that's my secondary. Oh, and we can't forget there is Akuma in the game who's actually canon to the story, which is absolutely nuts. Which, speaking of, was probably the most disappointing aspect of Tekken 7. I kind of had a little higher expectations than I should have, and as a fighting game story, it's pretty pretty low on the scale here. But there were some really cool moments, and that's why it's still high up on the list at number 5 for a fighting game. And you know, there are worse stories in comparison to Tekken 7 here. Now, I love the customization, and the soundtrack is okay. I think it's decent, but I just wind up doing, you know, doing the, what do you call it, put in the older songs from, you know, the older games and stuff like that, or music soundtracks or whatever from, you know, let's say, you know, Tekken 6, 5, and, you know, everything you can think of, especially with the Tekken Tag soundtrack and all that stuff. I just wind up using those instead as for the majority, but it's still okay. There are some cool ones in there for Tekken 7, and I love the galleries and stuff. Of course, I had a, you know, pretty good time looking at all the other older movies and stuff like that. Even the really bonus ones that you know, kind of never seen before, sort of with the commercials and stuff like that. Especially the I believe the pachinko ones and all that fun stuff, but. It's still a pretty solid Tekken game. I just wish for more of the other characters to return, and hopefully we see more guest characters. I just really want to see more DLC from it, because I really do have fun with this time around. And I think, you know, if, you know, those characters return, I think we'll have a much more solid Tekken here. And the online mode could have been a little better with the lobby and stuff like that. It's still King of the Hill. Really hope they have like multiple rooms for an update for the lobby system, but for now it's okay. The netcode unfortunately has gone a little more wonky, but it's still fun for what it is. I still love it, and I would love to continue playing it if the time has given me to do so. Number 4, and that is Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was one of the big games, the AAA, and all that fun stuff of 2017. A lot of people were talking about it, especially myself and a couple of friends here on this channel. We even have a big spoiler talk about it and all that stuff. But what it is here, I think it's a pretty solid game, but it could have been a lot better. And I think there are a good number of people that were overrating it. I think it doesn't deserve the 10 out of 10. It's still not perfect, but it is different from previous Zelda games here. I think it's still fun, but the story, it's probably the weakest aspect of this game, unfortunately. They did try to do different things for this game with actual voice dialogue, the cutscenes and stuff like that, and just the overall art direction. And of course, the gameplay of it, like you climb the tower and, you know, trying to unlock all the parts on your map, and just, you know, the Divine Beast and all that fun stuff. And it does, you know, borrow a lot of things from other games, and it kind of just, you know, it does mesh together well enough for, you know, to make it an 8 out of 10 for me. It's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. And overall, it's still pretty decent for what it is, but I think it's not absolutely not perfect. I think that's the problem here. One of the disappointing things about this game was the final boss fight. It's very simple. It's kind of dumbed down, kind of brainless in comparison to the other final bosses. It kind of just wasn't cool enough. It doesn't wow me enough in terms of just, you know, memorable moments, that kind of thing. And it just makes me really wish you were involved more with the story here, because there's just not enough to really go off of. They kind of just expect you to kind of really feel something for each cutscene, but you kind of just wish more for each scene or whatever, like just more cutscenes to really help you mend and make you care about the story that's, you know, revolving around this game here. We have Zelda just holding off against, you know, Ganon from becoming, you know, the free monster or whatever. He's just, and that was one of the disappointing things about Ganon too. He's just like this monster. He doesn't really have any dialogue or anything like that. And that was something I was looking forward to too, because, you know, Zelda was getting dialogue, you know, voice dialogue at that. and you just expect to see Ganon, to come in like that, but he's just a monster. Unfortunately, he's just Calamity Ganon. He just goes around Hyrule Castle, and he's just this big monster. Really, for me, what would have really sold me on the story here is if they had one cutscene with Zelda and Ganon. And if Ganon, if I saw Ganon like taunting her and all that stuff, that eventually she won't be able to hold him off any longer, just taunting her, that would be like a pretty good motivator for you to, get going. Like, you want to kick Ganon's ass to save the princess and save Hyrule and all that stuff. But meanwhile, you're going off with hunting and stuff like that, which is another fun part about that. The hunting, the gathering, the materials and stuff like that. Those parts are really fun too. The exploration, how vast the world was. You kind of just wish a little more variety. Besides seeing that big old meadow, the green meadow that you see a lot in this game. It's cool and all, but we just want to see more. Just want to see different places, and stuff like that. Some of the villages were kind of weak. I think the weakest one of them all was Gorons. Unfortunately, Gorons are, they're supposed to be really fun to be around with, but they were by that volcano, and there's a lot of lava and stuff like that. It's just, you can't really live there until you get the armor for it. And I think the funnest one of them all was the Zoras. The Zoran village was really cool. I love Sidon. I love the story around Mipha. Mipha's a really cool character. And just the characters within that village were a lot more memorable. The story within that was probably the most memorable of them all. And probably the most forgettable one was the Revali's, unfortunately. Even though the current Revali champion, I forgot his name, but he sounded pretty cool. But I just want to see more from him. Like, he's wanted. I just want to see more cutscenes from the current generation champions, who are supposed to be descendants of their previous champions. And you just really don't really get enough from that, and to really build off, any relationships or connections from them. I personally wish to see more from them, but unfortunately, we didn't really get enough of that. They kind of just expect you to kind of go off from what you see. And of course, one of the biggest annoyances in the game were the weapon degradations. Weapons breaking in this game were so annoying. They felt like paper mache, and even like the champion weapons are like that too. It just really ruins the payoff of obtaining these weapons. Even the Master Sword's like that too, except of course it can recharge and stuff like that. Now, if there was a weapon repair system, that would have alleviated a lot of that. Just gather some of these materials, repair this weapon on the go or whatever, or have a blacksmith character that can do that. Have one for each village or whatever, and that would have been really neat. That would have been a really neat way to incorporate that, especially maybe you can have each unique blacksmith who can do certain weapons really well or something. That would have been a really great addition to the game. That's all about being different from other Zelda games. But nope, unfortunately, if the weapon breaks, that is it for that weapon. There are some cool armor sets and stuff like that. You can get some from the DLC, which are kind of neat. But for what it is, it's overall a pretty decent solid game, but it doesn't deserve a 10 out of 10. That's the problem here, I think. And there are some few but very, very clear weaknesses for the game, especially with the story, which is a lot of people were looking forward to, especially with that trailer that happened during I think one of the directs or whatever. But it was such a really well put together trailer that it set me up for that kind of expectation, and it's a little bit of a letdown. But yeah, you do get kind of a satisfactory ending, sort of. But You know, it's kind of just what you expect, and you just kind of just wish for more from it. But hopefully, you know, we see more from Aonuma, and hopefully he sees all these mistakes and all the feedback from the fans, and consider that for the next Zelda project here. And he's already confirmed that they are working on the next project. So really looking forward to it. Hopefully we see something a little more refreshing, still different enough to be, you know, different from the other Zelda games, just like Breath of the Wild was, but at the same time kind of just give us a much more well put together story, fill in the holes and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, it's there. I wish certain things from Breath of the Wild, like, you know, being able to choose. I don't know. Maybe your loved one or something. Zelda was okay. I don't know, but she's a kind of a dork or a nerd, which I kind of do like, but at the same time, play as the real waifu. But despite all the negativity I've mentioned about Breath of the Wild, I think it still deserves to be, you know, that Zelda game that has all the charm and stuff like that. It's, you know, definitely for the history books, it's definitely one of the most revolutionary, quote unquote, Zelda games out there, and definitely memorable. It's, you know, like I said, it's for the history books, and hopefully we see more of those kind of games for Zelda. I love to, you know, look forward to all the other different Zelda games that are going to come out for the Switch, and hopefully all that feedback and stuff like that will be taken into consideration. And I know it's still, you know, I still love the charm of it. I still love the art style, the cel shading, and it was really beautiful to look at, especially, you know, especially on the Switch here. And it was that launch title that really helped carry the Switch's launch. That was very lackluster, but you know, we finally got that, you know, Zelda game, of course, and I think for the most part it did pay off, but it could have been a lot better. And number 3 on this list here is Tales of Berseria. Tales of Berseria is a lot more niche than, let's say, Breath of the Wild, but it's higher on my list because it had a much more satisfactory story here. And overall, the gameplay was really fun. I loved it from the beginning, middle to end. It just wrapped up really nicely. I love the characters it had. They definitely had a lot of charm, and I just love absolutely every single one of them and their relationships between each other. I love the theme around this whole thing about being a bad guy, comparing to the other Tales games, and it's definitely the darkest one of them all, which is a very, you know, refreshing take on the Tales formula here, and especially with our, you know, very first female main protagonist here, who, you know, is the starring protagonist. I think she does a really solid job as the protagonist or main character here. She's, you know, very lovable. She's very memorable. She has great character progression, despite what she went through. And you really feel it, you know, even by the end of it all. And I love what was going on around the world and the lore behind it. And I love the fact that it is actually a prequel to Zestria, which is another game I should really, you know, get back into and hopefully finish it sometime. It just, I love the way it connects. It all just makes sense now. And it really makes me want to play Zestria sometime. You know, and of course I love the graphics, the soundtracks are pretty cool. Of course the villains, the other actual villains of the story, or antagonists, were level enough. I kind of wish a little more from them, but for what we got, it was pretty cool. Tori's mystic art is something to remember for me anyway. But anyways, the character relationships, the progression, the weapons, the action portions of it, the overall gameplay, and the art direction, graphics, and everything, it's something to love here. I think it's a very solid Tales game, especially if you're a Tales fan or just a fan of JRPGs. I think it's a nice to have in your collection, and I think it's a pretty unique one, if not the most unique of them all for right now, because of the main protagonist, the theme around it, and just the overall take around it. I think it's a pretty unique one, and I think it did pay off very well, and it's a very, very refreshing take on the Tales series, and I continue to love it. And this game was left me with no disappointment here. I kind of wish that I was able to pick up more side quests, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to correctly approach it. But for what I got, they were pretty fun, and the side quests are high up there as well. And so there is a lot of to do. I was able to finish it in like 70 hours, but you can do more than that. So there is plenty of content to do, and of course the goofy costumes are there. You can pay if you want, but there are some ones that are definitely worth their money, especially with the pirate ones. I love the pirate costumes for the cast, and it makes it that much more lovable. So this overall, this has the charm. It's got the characters you love, and the stories and the soundtracks and everything. All the presentation as a JRPG game is definitely there. It's a very solid one. They definitely deserve a 9 out of 10 or something as a JRPG for me. So I was kind of disappointed that I wasn't able to get around to do a fully fledged review for it. I absolutely loved it when it first came out, and I streamed the hell out of it from the beginning to the end. I think I streamed it I think a solid week, like 7 days in a row or something. That's just something I wanted to do. Just because the game was just so fun and just very charming, and it just kept me engaged till the very end of it. So, you guys again love Tales games or just JRPG games? I think this deserves your attention here. Now we have number 2 on the list here for best games of 2017 that I played, and number 2 we have Super Mario Odyssey. Wow, what could top this game, right? But let's get into Super Mario Odyssey here and how I felt about it. Now this is a game I was able to make a review about it, but overall, I felt so much love for this game. Especially if you're gonna compare it to Breath of the Wild as a Nintendo game, it just seems like you just feel more love from it because Mario Odyssey does play it safe. They do stick with what they know, and it's a solid Mario game. I think, in my opinion, it is the best 3D Mario game out there, and it is the reason for you to get a Switch. It's so much fun. The controls are very tight. The graphics are just so beautiful to look at for Mario game. It's very colorful, very charming. It definitely has all the charm, and I love the soundtrack for this game. It's so good. I love that they went with jazz, especially for the Metro Kingdom, and I love the fact that the main theme, Jump Up Superstar, went with that kind of genre. So I'm a sucker for jazz, and this is no exception here. I just loved every minute of it, and the boss fights were really fun. The levels were really fun for the most part. Not really too much. There weren't really any disappointments, I feel. And plus, we're getting new DLC stuff for free, like free updates for the game to expand upon, and all the more love for it, all the more worth to get this game now. If they can continue with this is like the game to pick up if you have a Switch here. I mean, it's already getting one free update. Why not pick it up now? Because I think I think it's still worth on its own, but geez, Nintendo really wants to put all the love in that game, unlike Breath of the Wild, it seems like. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that Aonuma and the rest of the team put their love into Breath of the Wild, but seems like Mario Odyssey just pulls it off a lot better, and it's just very simple and yet very effective. My favorite kingdom of them all, of course, is the Metro Kingdom, or New Donk City. It definitely had the most memorable moments. I love the whole concluding level where you can, you go through the level as Jump Up Superstar plays in the background, and Paula is such a charming character. She is just absolutely just a attention getter for me anyway. And I mean, I don't know, even like the rest of the game was so memorable. I love the bosses, especially the dragon and Bowser. And I think it definitely deserved Game of the Year, but it didn't. Breath of the Wild took that, and I was kind of disappointed on that part. But hey, at least it's still a Nintendo game. It got Game of the Year, so good for them. So, however, I think Mario Odyssey was it was such a more solid game. Funny enough, because the story was a lot more similar to follow, but the gameplay really carried it, and the soundtrack and the art direction, the graphics, and the controls, gameplay, everything. It was just so much fun. And of course, there's so much to do, like collecting the costumes, stuff like that. And I love the costumes, like the Dr. Mario one. There's a samurai one. There's a pirate one. Just all kinds of costumes for you to pick up. You can even be Mariachi Mario. Just a lot of things you can think of. So there's even more costumes coming in that update. So it gives you all the more reason to just get this game. It's absolutely fun. It's the perfect game to take it on the go. You know, collect more moons and all that stuff as you're on the go, as you're trying to kill time here. It's such a perfect Switch game, and it's the reason for you to get the Switch, I think, in my opinion. It's just an unforgettable experience, and it is definitely worth picking up here. Now, before we go into number 1 here, I'd love to do a honorable mention with a certain game called Snipperclips. Snipperclips is something I couldn't put on my top 10, but I just really wanted to put that in there somewhere because it's such a really fun game to play on a Switch here, and especially with a friend. You can meet myself and Quiet. We're able to get together and play every level, and it was just really fun. I do like the puzzle solving aspects of it, and I am aware that there is a plus version or whatever. You can update your game to add more puzzles or whatever. But I think we got a pretty satisfactory amount from what we did, and I think we got what we needed to see here. I just love the whole cutting the shape to kind of like help solve puzzles and stuff like that. And they're really creative, from what I saw. So I really like those kind of puzzles, and it was just something definitely worth picking up for a co-op game anyway. And of course, it's just I love the art direction for it. It's very charming. It's very cute. It's definitely something you can play with your kid or something, or give it to your kids to help kill time or whatever. It's just really, overall a really fun puzzle game that everyone can enjoy, and something worth picking up, I think. If you can have a friend over consistently and just have fun with this puzzle game here. And now, lastly, we have number 1 on this list here. Boy, oh boy, I really can't wait to present it, and that is Persona 5. I absolutely love this JRPG that came out this 2017, and I loved absolutely every single minute of it. I was just absolutely like on the edge of my seat for every big moment in the story. I really am glad that this is my first Persona game, and I think this is a great game to get into for the Persona series. Hoshino really poured his heart and soul out for this game, and you really feel it. And I love the art direction, the graphics, the cel shading, the menus, and just everything about it. And the music really held it together. And of course, the story, the characters, just the way things played out. It was such a unique JRPG for me to get into. I love the gameplay of it. I love leveling up your confidant. It's just very interesting, and you definitely get a lot out of it, including the relationship between each character, and you can even romance one of the girls or whatever. And it's just a really, really neat way to just see how characters grow and progress and stuff like that. You get to really know these characters too. And it's also such a really unique kind of a skill tree, if that makes sense in a way, because you really have to make these choices between these people, and you want to make the choice, whether to power up this person over that person, because you can only have so much time. Your days are literally numbered in this game, so you really have to choose wisely as to who gets to power up and who gets to get these abilities from raising the commandant levels and stuff like that. And I think it was such a unique way to go about for a JRPG in a way. I know other Persona games do this, but I think P5 here, I think it's really well done. And of course it is the most updated gameplay, so it's like, I don't know, I feel like I can't really go back to like P3 or P4 if I ever even try to. But maybe someday I'll maybe give those two games a shot, maybe. But I think P5 here is, I think it's such a good way to get into the Persona series. I'm really glad it did. I'm absolutely hooked. I love every minute of it. I love the beginning to the very end of it. Every character was just so cool, very charming for what they are. And even someone like Ryuji was absolutely lovable. Of course, I had to go with Hifumi as my romance partner, and I don't know, it was such a fun game. I love the main cast and the villains, of course, and of course the music that goes along with it. It just really raises up the moments. It just adds so much more charm to it. And I'm just really am glad that I was able to experience it for this, or for 2017, and hopefully we see another director that's able to take up the mantle of Hoshino and really carry on the Persona series. But we'll have to see. But I do just hope to see more from P5, and which we are, because we are getting a dancing game for it, and I really can't wait to get into that one, because I have been thirsting for a really fun rhythm game that can really get into and stuff like that. Besides Voez, and I think P5 Dancing Starlight will be the one, and hopefully it will be. It already looks really beautiful as is. Love how the characters animate in that game, and same here. And I just love how the menus are laid out, just the art, the charm, every single bit of P5 I absolutely love. I think it deserved a 10 out of 10, even despite some shortcomings. There is one palace I did not like, which is I think the fifth one. It basically features the Galaxy one, but despite that, it just, I don't know, each arc was just so engaging, and it really felt like a long, solid, like anime in a way. But you're part of it. You control these characters, of course. I love even like the basic aspects of it, like the turn-based RPG or turn-based combat, and just the basic elements of it. It was just so well done, and I love collecting those personas and all that stuff. Like I said, it's just from the beginning to the very end, you are just absolutely hooked, and I dearly miss the first time experience with Persona. I just hated that it ended, and I really wish it kept going, but all good things must come to an end, and this is no exception. I love the ending for it though. It really wraps up nicely, and I love the ending credits for it. I just wish for more from it, but hey, it's you can only wish so much from one thing. So but for what we have here for P5, I loved every single thing of from this game, and I just like I said, I can't wait for the dancing game and all that stuff, and maybe P5 Arena. I don't know. We'll have to see about that. If that was the case, I would absolutely throw all my money for it, and just experience that much more for P5. That's how much I love for it, and it's such a great game, and I really am glad I was able to get my hands on it And if anyone has not played it already, please go pick it up. I highly recommend it. It's I think it's the most engaging JRPG, in my opinion. But you know, of course, it's all up to you guys to really find out whether this is a good RPG or not. It even got nominated for Game of the Year, which is absolutely awesome. It received that much recognition. I think P5 here is, you know, the Final Fantasy VII. You know what I mean? It's the game that really, you know, put itself on the map here, and hopefully people can still have Persona on their mind long enough for P6 to come out. But you know, now that I think about it, I believe there might be another addition to the game here for P5 here, because you know we have Persona 4 Golden. Maybe we'll have some sort of like Persona 5 Velvet edition or something, or Red edition or something. I don't know. That would be absolutely awesome. And I would love to play it again. That's how much I love it. So, before I just drown myself with all this P5, that's pretty much it on this list. P5 with my number one for best game of 2017. Hope you guys enjoy my list here. It is, of course, like I said, it's a personal list of mine for best games that I played for 2017 here, and of course. 2017 was an overall pretty strong year, I think. We had a bunch of good games come out, including P5, Mario Odyssey, Tales, and all that stuff. And of course, Breath of the Wild. How can we forget that? And, oh yeah, of course, Nier Automata. Like I said, all that good stuff. Very solid year, and I feel like this coming year, 2018, it's going to be a little more subtle, but there are still some titles that I'm very much excited for, especially with Soul Calibur 6 and all that, and of course the P5 dancing game, and hopefully more Switch games will get announced for me to get excited for. But anyways, this has been my best games of 2017 that I played. Hope you guys enjoyed the list. If you did, hit the thumbs up, whatever. If you have your own personal top 10s you want to share, go ahead and leave it down below in the comment section. I'd love to check them out. What games you thought were best for 2017 that you played, and all that fun stuff. So then we have to hit the subscribe button, all that stuff. Really helps out the channel as always, and I highly appreciate it. So again, this has been my best games that I played for 2017. Hope you guys stick around for the worst / disappointing games of 2017 that I played. Hope you guys look forward to that. So until then, I'll see you guys in that video. Later.